Hey everybody, welcome back to Horror Trans. My name is Stephanie Bree. I'm a transgender woman. I talk about all things horror, and this is my franchise ranking of the Friday the 13th slash Jason, franchise. There are 12 films in the franchise, 8 of them produced by Paramount. Well, actually, 9 of them produced by Paramount Pictures, and 3 of them, 3 or 4 of them, 3 of them produced by New Line Cinema. And let's get into it. Number 12 on the list is Jason Goes to Hell. By far the worst of the worst. This movie is pure garbage. This movie is such a mess. There's actually 2 versions of it, which happens a lot with these late horror sequels. New Line Cinema wanted to do something different with the franchise, and they fucked it up. They shot the bed, and I can't say anything good about this movie. I've already talked about it. It fucking sucks. It's got a fucking snake raping a corpse. It's just there's nothing worth a shit in this movie. Number 11 is the original Friday the 13th, the weakest link in the original Paramount saga, the 8 films that Paramount did before the remake. And it's iconic, it's a classic, blah blah blah, but it's boring as shit. And there's really only like one kill, like, in the movie. There's other kills in the movie, but only one we see, like, in its entirety. The rest of them, it's like you see them swipe their hand and then you see the reaction shot, or they go to stab someone, you see the knife, and then you see their reaction shot. You don't see a lot of gore in this movie. I know it sets up the stage, and it's one of the, early, like, slashers that helped define the genre, but it's not the best in the franchise. Moving on. Number 10, Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood. Like the first one, this one's not very gory. You get to see more of the kills, but they're not gory kills. But this one's stupid because this was supposed to be Freddy versus Jason, and then they turned it into Carrie versus Jason, but they couldn't get the rights to Carrie, so they just call her Tina. And it's stupid. I've already talked about this movie. This was the first Friday the 13th movie I watched, and it turned me off to the franchise. For 20 years, I didn't watch another Friday the 13th or Jason movie, aside from Jason Goes to Hell, which I watched when it came out because it was a big deal. And then I hated it. So, yeah, this movie sucks. Number 9 is Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning. This is another one that doesn't have Jason in it. Surprisingly, there are at least 3 movies in the franchise where Jason is not the killer. I know. For a franchise that is, everybody knows the killer is Jason, he's not in all of them. Now, this movie isn't the worst movie in the franchise, obviously, but it's not a good movie. It has some iconic kills and scenes, but this movie pisses me off because it is setting up Tommy Jarvis to be the new killer. And they chickened out and made some what the fuck that was in the movie for like a grand total of 6 minutes, maybe, that, if that. Who you don't even know who he is or what his motivation is. You get to the end of the movie and you're like, wait a minute, wait, what? Why is he? It just doesn't make sense. Nothing about this movie makes sense. Number 8 is Friday the 13th, 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. We've all joked about how this is Jason takes a boat to Vancouver, whatever. Not a good movie. The story is pretty thin. It's got some good kills, but that's it. But all of the fucking dream stuff and baby Jason stuff and all the weird toxic Avenger shit going on, it's just not a good movie. Number 7 is the remake. It's a remake. I mean, what do you expect? Number 6 is Friday the 13th, Part 2, The first good one in the franchise, so we're finally into the good ones now. 2 is better than 1, but it's not the best in the franchise, but it's like one of the... It's by the time 2 came along, the slasher genre was fully defined, and this one is a fully defined slasher. I would put part 1 in the same proto-slasher camp as I put Halloween. It's not quite there yet, but it's almost there. Number 5 is Jason X. The dumbest of all the movies, by far. Worst acting, cheesiest plot, but it's got some of the greatest kills. And you know what it does have going for it? Jason in space. Uber Jason. Fuck yeah. Alright. Number 4 is only at number 4. It would have been higher, except for it's not a Jason movie, technically. And it's not technically a Friday the 13th movie. Number 4 is Freddy vs. Jason. One of the best movies in the franchise, but it has to share the spotlight with the vastly superior Freddy Krueger and the much better Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. So it only comes in at number 4 because, it's not a proper Friday the 13th. Number 3 is Friday the 13th Part 4, The Final Chapter. This is a really good one, and, on some days, this is like one of my favorites. On other days, this is one of my least favorites. And I feel like overall, I can put it at number 3 because I enjoy it more than all the others below it. I don't enjoy it more than Freddy vs. Jason, but because I consider this a proper Friday the 13th, I put it just above Freddy vs. Jason because it's a proper Jason movie. And Friday the 13th Part 4, the formula has already been well established, and this one does have Jason, and it actually has a good finale and a good final girl and a good final boy for a change. It's got Corey Feldman, so what's not to like? Number 2 is Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D. I know this one gets a bad rep for being in 3D, and yes, the 3D effect, it makes this movie hilarious, but I love this one so much because this one is like... This one feels like this one feels the most like Friday the 13th to me out of all of them. Like, when I think of Friday the 13th, what do I think of? Jason, teenagers, machete, hockey mask, goofy-ass kids, potheads, bad fucking acting, a beat-up Volkswagen Beetle, just like everything that you think of when you think of Friday the 13th is in this movie. And number 1 is by far the best in the franchise, the most entertaining, and my personal favorite, most horror fans' personal favorite, Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives, the best in the franchise. This is not something I'm going to argue or contest. It just is. This one doesn't take itself seriously. This is on the spectrum of meta horror. Definitely influenced Scream. The screenwriter of Scream has stated this movie did influence Scream. And it's hilarious. It's got some of the best kills in the franchise. Some of the actual most likable characters. And out of 12 movies, this is literally the only one with an actual plot. The only one with an actual plot and characters that are well defined out of the entire 12 movie franchise. So it is obviously the best because it's the one that you could take it out of the franchise and just call it a good movie. It's the only one that's a legit good movie on its own. So obviously it's the best in the franchise. So there you go, Friday the 13th. Stay cool.